How you doing? This is Shane and Justin with the Modern Warrior Project, and today we're going to be talking on the topic situational awareness. I think it's an important topic and one we want to just kind of share and discuss some in depth with you guys today.
Yeah, so situational awareness is really the logical place to start any discussion about self-defense, and it's something that we try to establish early in all of our curriculum because we refer back to it in every aspect of our principles of avoidance and fundamentals of recovery. But the best place to start is really just to simply define what situational awareness is. I've been accused of being a really technical speaker, so I'm going to try to use plain English. It's really just your ability to accurately understand what's going on in the environment around you, and then how those elements play together and what the possible outcomes are of how they interact. So an easy example is I'm walking down the street, I'm approaching a crosswalk. I see the little flashing hand telling me that I have a few more seconds to cross. Good situational awareness will tell me whether or not there are any cars coming, whether or not I have enough time, either by the light flashing or my own ability to quickly run across that street. Good situational awareness will tell me, are there other people that might be in a position that they couldn't get across the street safely? So really simply, it's just your ability to make good decisions based off of an accurate understanding of what's going on around you.
Yeah, I think that's, and I would sum it up. I agree. That's a good definition. And basically, it's just that. It's a good understanding of what's going on around you and taking that information in, processing it, and utilizing it to better your situation or to conduct your control and transition through various areas. And it's not always necessarily tactical related, although typically when we're talking about it, in our courses and such, that's where we're coming from. But I mean, it really is anything. You utilize it in sales or any other aspect of your life, it's just general situational awareness.
Yeah, and the point there is that situational awareness is goal oriented. Whether or not I'm trying to decide a good restaurant or whether or not I'm trying to decide the place that I'm pulling into with my family in an unfamiliar area is safe enough for me to get out, pump gas, have my kids go in and use the restroom, it's kind of the same process. It's just that we access a different set of tools when we're assessing a situation tactically versus from a business perspective.
Understanding and assessing the environment.
Yep.
Is essentially what I would sum it up in.
Yep.
So what do we want to hit on next?
Yeah, so the kind of the elements that lend themselves to good situational awareness are, number one, attention. That means that you have to be paying attention. You need to be focusing on the right elements in order to make the right decisions. So distractions can certainly be a degrader with that. Next is perception. You have to accurately understand what it is that you're paying attention to. So if you get the wrong signals, you can make the wrong decision. Whether you just aren't familiar with maybe like a disguised threat, you don't recognize it as a developing threat. Most people are pretty clear on what an obvious threat is, but perception is what's going to enable us to make that good, true assessment of what it is that we're seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching in the environment. And then lastly, decision making. That's kind of the capstone element. That's choosing the right course of action to reach the outcome that you want given the situation that you're faced.
Yeah, and I think in that perception and decision making, I think there's a good area that I want to hit on later. I won't hit on it now, but as far as following your intuition.
Yep.
And it falls into that decision making, obviously, but we'll hit on that a little more.
And just in case we don't come back to it, that trusting your instincts and accepting that it can happen to you are the two most cornerstone elements of CSC, and that's if something doesn't feel right, you don't get any points for finding out you were wrong once you've passed that line of departure.
And I don't want to derail. I want to kind of stay on topic, but I do want to hit, and we've definitely got to come back to that because I think that is one highly, especially in our Western culture, and any culture that is around a civilized and a polite culture, it's our nature to sometimes go against that intuition.
Cultural norms, social norms.
By following those cultural norms, I don't want to be rude. So we'll definitely hit on that more.
Yeah, certainly a means of exploitation.
I've kind of pulled us off trail, and I'm sorry for that. But before we go further, I want to hit on what would you say? And this is something I've got a personal answer for. What is it you see most often neglected in the area of situational awareness by the general populace?
So I don't know if it's something that's necessarily neglected as much as I see as it's something that distracts or detracts from our ability to gain and maintain situational awareness, and that's going to be lack of prioritizing situational awareness. And we see that most commonly through the use of personal electronic devices, whether that's being engrossed in your cell phone in a text-based conversation, listening to music at an inappropriate volume while you're running, at night or really anywhere. It could be you trying to use your vehicle's GPS at a stoplight. Could be you at a gas station, checking your phone or something along those lines, or at a Starbucks using your computer to finish a work presentation and not recognizing that somebody might be, closer than they need to be to your jacket or anything like that. So I think personal electronic devices are the number one degrader for good situational awareness. How about yourself?
I agree. In typical Justin fashion, you went way into depth. Cell phones. Yeah. In short, to me, in the general populace, everyone's got their head up their ass with their in the phone.
Yep.
And it's and I've been guilty. All of us, I think, have been guilty. It's just part of our way of life now. But that is something you constantly see, and I think that is by far probably one of the biggest put you at risk, just common daily things that you do.
Yeah, and
by losing track of what's around you.
What I appreciate is, Shane very honestly and transparently said, "Hey, it happened to me." Well, it happens to all of us because it's a human vulnerability. The goal or the principle should be that you're choosing deliberately to engage in that cell phone or that personal electronic device because you have gained situational awareness and you determine that, to the best of your ability, it's a safe time to do it. And you're only doing it in a small period of time, and then you're going to quickly regain that situational awareness. So that might mean that you check your phone, type a little bit of your text, and then you get a quick snapshot of the world around you, and then you go back to your phone. It's not becoming so fixated that you lose total awareness. And there's tons of great videos on the internet that show the hilarious consequences of doing it. People falling into fountains. But there's also stories pretty regularly of people that are killed in an effort to gain the perfect selfie because they're too close to the edge of a cliff and they tragically slip and fall to their death.
Yeah, quite an unfortunate common incident more than often now. So where we're going to head next on this.
Yeah, so I think it's important to make the concept of situational awareness practical, because we can talk the theory, the human factors aspects of it all day long, but really we want tools, right? So the next thing, other than being deliberate with when you choose to engage in your cell phone or your other personal electronic devices, is gaining and maintaining awareness of where you should physically be in any environment that you are.
Positioning.
Yep, absolutely, positioning. So we refer to this as points of influence. The term basically means we are putting ourselves somewhere in the environment that we can influence the outcome of a situation. That could be choosing to walk in the middle of a sidewalk instead of the corner so that you have time to react to somebody as you turn a corner. That could be where you choose to sit in a restaurant, how you stand at the gas station, where you are physically positioning yourself or your family if you're approached by a group of individuals. So it's got a lot of application, but it starts with you having situational awareness of what's around you. What can you use as concealment or cover? What obstacles can you put between you and a potential threat? What avenues of escape do you have? And all of that is built on having good situational awareness.
Yep. So what is for the audience, and I think a lot of the people that probably watch this are kind of tactically minded or personal security, personal safety minded, oriented. That's probably what brought them to the video. What is one of the things that you think in positioning? I know my answer. I'll hear yours. What's one of the primary things that you try and do? Actually, I'll give you mine and I'll let you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the big things I try and do when I enter into, let's say I'm going to eat, a restaurant or some kind of anywhere, in just my daily transit. Ultimately, situationally aware, I'm trying to mitigate any risk of exposure, any risk of a threat being able to attack me. Not that I'm walking around paranoid, but it becomes a way of life and a mindset. And so one of the things I'm always trying to do is block that off. So I am going to purposely not have an entrance right behind me if I have that option. That's like the last place I want to sit is blind to an entrance behind me, because that's a potential threat avenue of approach. I'm going to block it off. I'm going to try and get myself into an area where I've got a wall behind me. Someone can't approach me. That's one of the biggest things for me personally I do, to where I have visibility on entries and exits and pathways in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the most common example is exactly what you've used. It's a restaurant. I go into a restaurant, I choose not to sit with my back to the main entrance, or I position myself in a place that I might have cover or concealment easily available, or I can watch the most valuable areas, right? So if something were to go wrong in a fast food restaurant or a gas station, we normally see that taking place kind of at the cashier's place. So rather than focusing on the bathroom, maybe I put myself in a position to look at that. And I think it's important to understand too that these are opportunistic positions. I don't always have the choice to sit where I want in a restaurant. So good situational awareness will tell me whether or not I'm at a high risk by choosing to put my back to a main door, or if this is a place where, my family's here, maybe I accept that risk because it's a deliberate decision as opposed to a casual reflex of looking around and not having that place that you normally want to sit.
And kind of going on to the polite and all of that we talked about earlier, a little out of context, social norms. I'm not afraid to ask, is there somewhere else that I could sit, or could I sit over there if I'm offered a place that doesn't fit my personal, because at the end of the day, if I'm not sitting in a place that I'm truly comfortable, then that's going to be on my mind and it's a distraction for me, depending on how bad it is. So I'm not above asking, hey, do you mind, is this possibly this area open?
Yeah.
And just asking that outright. I don't need to go into why, but could I sit over there possibly?